Hello and welcome to The Bridge, the TV show that features happenings around the Woodbridge Township School District. I'm your host, Darren Soretto. Today's episode will feature Woodbridge Township's Sesquicentennial Celebration. That's quite a mouthful, but it means that Woodbridge has been around for 350 years, and that's worth celebrating. In the studio today, we have former councilwoman and township historian, Mrs. Brenda Yori Velasco, with Dr. Dolores Capraro-Giaffre, chair of the Woodbridge Township Historic Preservation Commission. Then we'll feature one of our new student correspondents, where students collaborated on 350th anniversary Woodbridge history projects in language arts and social studies classes. In sports, another student correspondent will be interviewing committee members of the Woodbridge Athletics Hall of Fame. Finally, we'll be taking our music segment on the road to visit Woodbridge High School music teacher Beth Amory. It's a full show, but first, a quick break before we welcome our guests. Come right back. Welcome back to The Bridge. I'm Darren Soretto. As usual, before we welcome our first guests, we're featuring artwork here on The Bridge. Today, we're featuring works in progress that are being created collaboratively to celebrate the 350th anniversary of Woodbridge. Our first piece is a collaboration between all of the art classes at Woodbridge High School to create a huge 3-by-7-foot flag in celebration of Woodbridge's 350th anniversary. 350 art students are creating parts of the flag from mixed media, such as clay, photographs, paint, marker, and pencil. The completed flag will be on display at the Barron Art Center for April's student exhibit and at the Woodbridge High School Art Show titled Celebration of the Arts, which will be in the roller rink of the Community Center on May 9th. I think I see Dunkin' Donuts in there and the Barron Art Center. I see Woodbridge High School, and I think I see my parents' house there. Very cool, interesting. Great work. In the spirit of collaboration and community, the next art pieces we are featuring are squares for a quilt that is being created by students at Ford's Middle School. This has also been a year-long project that will be completed and displayed for the Sesquicentennial. The first square represents the Jersey Blues Fire Company No. 1 and was created by Nicholas, Brian, Satvik, Josiah, and Stephen at Ford's Middle School. I love the raised paint, and it gives a great texture, and it just kind of emits courage and loyalty. I like it. Great job, guys. Next is a square based on the famous Woodbridge Speedway. This square was created by Haley, Jury, Jessica, Jack, Farrell, and Amar. Awesome replica of the Speedway program. Only 15 cents. I think it only costs $1.75 to get into the raceway, so 15 cents is pretty good, but a great replica. Remember to be creative and submit your own artwork through your art teacher. Your work could be featured on the next episode of The Bridge. Now a quick break, but come right back to meet historians Brenda Velasco and Dolores Capraro-Giaffre. Welcome back to The Bridge. You're here with Darren Soretto, and I'm welcoming Mrs. Brenda Yori Velasco and Dr. Dolores Capraro-Giaffre. Welcome, Brenda. Welcome, Dolores.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on the show.
We blew in today.
Yes, lots of wind blew us in here.
Yes.
So let's start. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do in Woodbridge Township? Do you want to start, Brenda?
Okay. I'm a former councilwoman, 19 years. I am the current township historian. I've been on the Historic Preservation Commission for a number of years. Supportive. In my other life, I was an educator for 36 years.
Wow, that's great.
3 at Linden High School, and then 33 at a private school, Solomon Schechter, now called Gold Academy in West Orange. So Dolores.
Dolores?
I've been a Woodbridge resident most of my life, attended all the schools in Woodbridge Township, graduated from Woodbridge High School. Moved to Parlin for a little bit of time, about 10 years, and then back to Woodbridge because my husband had a business here and we wanted to be back in Woodbridge. I've been an educator my whole life, taught at Edison High School before moving up to Montclair State College, University now, Penn State University, and then Delaware Valley University. In Woodbridge, I have been very active in a number of things. Primarily, I chair the Historic Preservation Commission, and I chair the Cultural Arts Commission of Woodbridge. I also am very active at St. James Catholic Church.
Great. Well, so great to hear that you both were educators.
Yes.
That's at my heart too as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the Woodbridge history projects that each of you were involved in?
The Woodbridge Township Historic Preservation Commission was founded by ordinance.
Okay.
The town approved the ordinance at around 1998.
Okay.
We were active very little at that time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the chair of that commission died very suddenly, and we were sort of left without a leader. At that point, we approached the mayor at that time, Mayor Pelsman,
Okay.
and told him we were really interested in continuing this pursuit. So around 2004, we were resurrected as a commission. We were able to expand the ordinance. We have 9 commission members and a number of other individuals who work with us, like our township historian,
Okay.
the person who heads the Woodbridge Township Historic Association, and a number of other individuals who are liaisons from the library and what have you. For the time that the historic preservation has been in existence, we think we've accomplished a great deal. One of the things that we're very proud of is that we have developed over the last 10 years 10 brochures representing all of the towns of Woodbridge Township.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
taken, yes, we've taken them one at a time, and we've developed the brochure with extensive research so that we are bringing to the people what this town is all about. That was chartered back in 1669, actually the first one chartered in the state of New Jersey.
Wow, that's amazing.
In addition to that, I should also mention that the Historic Preservation Commission sponsors an essay contest every year
Okay.
for the 7th graders in Woodbridge Township and other schools in Woodbridge Township that are private schools.
Okay.
We, the teachers and Mr. Vincent Sacadato
Yes,
work
he's been on
very,
the show. He's a great historian
yes,
himself.
and we work very closely together. The schools are very cooperative. A question is developed for the students that includes research and a lot of work for them. Teachers have the opportunity to go through the essays, submit those to us that they think are worthy, and we have a rubric that we use in evaluating the essays. We select one from each school and one from that conglomeration of other schools, and then in May we present an award to to the winning students from each of the schools. They read their essays at a reception.
That's great.
Receive a proclamation from the mayor, a cash award from the Historic Preservation Commission.
That's wonderful.
So it's really been a good project.
It's so great to get the kids involved in the history of Woodbridge.
Right.
Now, Brenda, I understand you've been involved in something called the Township Oral History Project since 2008.
Yes.
Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just left my teaching position.
Okay.
So I think I needed something to do. And as I said, I think Woodbridge has a very rich history. It popped after World War II, in the post-World War II era. And I wanted to capture that change of Woodbridge when the population was about 40,000 before the war to over 90,000 by 1970, and now it's over 100,000. But I was able to interview over 125 people, and I just learned from them so much. They are the true treasure of
Yeah, and so much better than a history book because you're getting people's personal reflection on their childhood, how they grew up in the town, how they worked in the town, their families. So now let's shift over to schools. I mean, schools are the heart of Woodbridge. I mean, that's where our youth is, right? And that's...
Okay, and this was incorporated in that original charter, June 1st, 1669, from the king, that we had to provide Woodbridge free public schools. 100 free school acres were designated. And so you would have sale from the wood or to supplement. It was basically salutary neglect, benign neglect. It wasn't enforced.
Okay.
We were an agricultural community.
Okay.
And then you have the Revolutionary War. And you have to realize that faith communities, you opened with a prayer. Yeah. You closed with a prayer. Right. That was it. It was different. A lot of these little schools were shanties with oil paper over the windows, maybe just one heat source. No air conditioning.
Well, that's relatively new.
Maybe 3 people sat at a desk if they had a desk for the upper grades. The younger grades might sit at a little bench. It wasn't the best. It isn't until 1870 that this township recognizes we need free public schools. Yes. And then this is when School 1 is built, 1877. Okay. It's still there, used by your Board of Education. And then School 11
now we have the renovations going on.
A big renovation. And high school was 1911. That's Woodbridge High School.
Woodbridge High School is 1911.
Built on Barron Avenue.
On Barron Avenue, which is now Woodbridge Middle School, also undergoing renovation. But the population, as I said, of Woodbridge went from 40,000 pre-World War II to over 90,000, but their student population, this was the time of babies, post-World War II, so their student population was about 22,000 by the time you were leaving, I think, Dolores. That was in the early 70s, 22,000. And now our school population is about 14,000. So we've had booms and busts.
Well, that's the hard part, is deciding, what schools to keep open. I know we've closed schools through the years.
Yes.
And then there's a need for schools at different times. So it's tough to find that balance.
It's shifting demographics, and during the 1930s, that was another push for education because there weren't jobs.
And in the 1800s, there were a number of private schools in Woodbridge. There was Adrian's School, which was in Islin, which didn't last very long, and then there was a school on Green Street in Woodbridge, 9597 Green Street, and
that was Jane Arrowsmith. That was your old house.
Arrowsmith, who owned that school and had 6 students from New York.
Really?
When Jane Arrowsmith sold that school, it was turned over. First, it was an Episcopal rectory for a while because the rectory had burned down. But then it was Dr. John Love, who was the first superintendent of schools in Woodbridge Township, lived in that house. Yes.
Wow. Just so much history, just so much wonderful history.
But these were preparatory schools for girls, and that Green Street, Dolores formerly lived on 95 Green Street, but as you came down Green Street towards Rollway Avenue, you had other academies there at different times, but then you had a train stop there.
Yeah, the train stop. So our town has gone through so many changes in the past and continues to grow and change for the better. So it's just wonderful to see the progression through the years. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with both of you. You both have such a great passion for Woodbridge and a love for Woodbridge, which just shows in your faces and in all your stories. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you, Brenda and Dolores, for helping to keep Woodbridge alive and Woodbridge history alive. Thank you. We have to take a short break, but when we come back, we are going to continue our discussion of Woodbridge history with Avenel Middle School students. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Bridge. We have been learning about Woodbridge history in celebration of the township's Sesquicentennial. This year, we have also been working with some Journalism 3 students from our district high schools, interning on the show's production. Our next segment features 350th anniversary projects created through a collaboration between language arts and social studies classes at Avenel Middle School and is produced by the Journalism 3 students at Colonia High School. Let's go over to our correspondent, Frankie Brock, to learn more about Avenel Middle School's work.
Hi, I'm I'm Frankie Brock, correspondent with The Bridge, and I'm here at Avenel Middle School. Let's go check out how the kids here celebrated Woodbridge's 350th anniversary. I'm here with
Amaryllis and Jenna.
and we're here to talk about their project about Woodbridge. Tell me a little bit about it, guys.
Well, our project is Woodbridge based on Monopoly, and what you do is you roll the dice and move how much the dice says to move, and after whatever you land on, if there's a fact and if there's questions on it, and if you don't know the fact, you can't buy the property.
So my favorite fact is about the Cross Keys Tavern. On George Washington's way to become president, he stayed at the tavern in Woodbridge on April 22nd of 1789. And if you didn't know this fact, then you can't buy this property.
And my favorite fact is Demarest on the Hill. Captain Demarest founded Avenel and named it after his daughter. It was officially established in 1901 with the name Demarest on the Hill. It was later changed to Avenel.
Very cool, and I can see that all these cards have pictures from around Woodbridge on them, and I like your facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with
Annalise
and
Cassidy.
tell me a little bit about your project, guys.
It is a 3D model of Boynton Beach.
Why did you guys decide to do a 3D model?
Because they gave us a list of things that we can do. We were drawn to the Boynton Beach and the 3D model because we felt that would be a good way to represent.
I really like how you guys use real sand. Makes me feel like I'm at the beach. Tell me an interesting fact about Boynton Beach.
It was established in 1877. And there was a restaurant there called Seymour and House, and Thomas Edison ate there a few times.
Very cool. Thanks, guys. Hi, I'm here with
Isha.
Kevin.
Tell me a little bit about your project, guys. I can see that it's a 3D model.
So this is the 3D model of the East Jersey State Prison. We created some fun facts around it, and with the model we made iconic dome. We used a bowl and we used some construction paper and cardboard to create it.
Cool. Do you have a favorite fun fact?
I do not have a favorite fun fact, though I do have something else I'd like to share.
Okay, go ahead.
A poem. Okay. Originally a reformatory, now not a laboratory. A prison with 1,000 plus criminals kept away from us. The road railway was removed, although the prison was not moved. Originally built on a system of grading, boxing, movies, and music creating. Looked like a castle at first. Hurricane was supposedly the worst of the worst. Wake up at 5:45, not 15. Buy golds, some nice, some mean. A dome was always there. Prisoners who escaped went everywhere. Frequent parole and frequent bail at East Jersey State Prison, jail.
That's a great poem. Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
Very cool. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
On February 6, 1951, a train nicknamed the Broker set off from NYC on the Pennsylvania Railroad at 5:43 p.m. The train derailed in Woodbridge, New Jersey. The conductor didn't slow down in time. He was going 60 miles per hour instead of 25 miles per hour on a curved rail due to construction, which caused the train to tip over and crash.
The reason this tragic event is called the Woodbridge train wreck is because the Woodbridge residents were kind enough to rush help and provide aid to injured people from the crash.
345 people were injured and there are 85 deaths. Now people go on the ghost walk to remember the deaths and walk among the spirits of the people who died that day.
That was a very cool video, guys. How did you film it so it looked like the pictures were moving like that?
So we took bits of pictures and we put them together as a video collage, and it just moved smoothly. It was really fun.
Was it hard to do that?
It was not that hard, but it was difficult, like moving everything at the perfect time.
And putting it all together? Yeah. It was very cool, though. So what did you like learning about the train wreck?
I liked learning about how residents of Woodbridge were so kind to like help and aid people who were injured, like injured passengers, and it's just like nice to know that you're in a community where neighbors are so kind to help you out.
This short film subject is all about the Barron Art Center. The Barron Art Center is now located at 582 Rahway Avenue in Port Reading. It was built in a Romanesque revival style and has a similar aesthetic to a church, just with a tall clock tower in front.
It has a raised roof, and the sturdy structure was sculpted with dark brick.
The interior includes a pretty rose window and a fireplace that is colored with blue and white Delft tiles.
The Barron Art Center was the first free public library in Woodbridge Township.
It was formerly called the Barron Library. The Barron Library was built with funds by Thomas Barron. He was a wealthy merchant.
So you guys did your project on the Barron Art Center, and what's something interesting you learned about it?
One interesting thing that we learned about it was formerly a library, but it became obsolete because no one was really interested in it, so it became a cultural center a century later.
I saw in the video that there was a little homemade art of the Barron Art Center. Did you guys make that?
Yeah, I had some help with my mom, but it was, made out of clay.
It was very cool. It looked just like it.
We added the claymation because New Jersey is known for its clay factories, and that'll be a cool little thing to add to it.
Very cool. Thanks, guys. I'm here with
Mr. Caplet
and Mrs. Annan.
So explain the projects to me. What did the students do, and how did they research the materials?
Well, in honor of our 350th anniversary, Social Studies Department and Miss Annan with the Language Arts Department, we got together, like we do every year, combined our classes, and the kids investigated using Chromebooks, various textbooks within the township's history, and they did a great job.
So how did the final products come out, and what did you learn along with the students?
You know, anytime Mr. Cap and I work together, we always talk about fostering a positive environment. So we spoke to the children and said, what are you passionate about? And then use that passion to develop your project. You know, there's an old saying, it's called, in learning you will teach, in teaching you will learn. And I think by far, Mr. Cap, I'm sure you'll agree, we learned so much, not only about these students, but the knowledge that they have through technology. And it was really an incredible experience.
Yeah, the projects came out really great. I was glad to see them.
Yeah, it was great. Ambition plus motivation equaled success.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Clearly these kids have me beat. I need to go practice my Woodbridge trivia, right guys?
Yeah.
Back to you, Mr. Serrano.
Wow, what interesting projects. And a great job by our student correspondent, Frankie Brock. We also want to give a shout out to student director Jada Davis and student cameraman Andy Oglesby and Zachary Pereira. It looks like they had a fun time producing this segment, and they did an excellent job. And they're here with us in the studio today, right behind the cameras. Awesome job, guys. Well, we have to take another break, but come right back as our student sports correspondent visits with members of the Woodbridge Athletics Hall of Fame. Thanks for coming back to the Bridge. It's time now for our sports segment, and we sent student sports correspondent Nigel Palla out to Woodbridge High School with student cameraman Jack Golden to meet with members of the Woodbridge Athletics Hall of Fame. Let's find out more about this historical organization. Over to you, Nigel.
Thank you, Mr. Soretto. I'm Nigel Palla, Woodbridge High School's correspondent, here with some very special guests to educate us on our Township Athletic Hall of Fame. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Nick Sardone. I attended Woodbridge High School, graduated in 1963. I started running around here as a little kid in the late 50s, going to football games and really enjoying it. I got hooked then, and it's still with me now.
Sandy Schmidtke. Nick forgot to tell you that he is the president of the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Ms. Vice President.
We've worked very hard to make this all work for the 3 schools in our township and recognize the athletes that definitely have given us our pride in everything from one end to the other. And basically, I started at Colonia High School when it was brand new. I came with the building, and I left as the last original teacher at Colonia High School. I was also the vice principal and did all the extracurricular activities that you could possibly think of, okay, because those were the days when you never said no.
My name's Tom Shamil. I'm a former teacher at Colonia and Woodbridge High School in the business department. I was the co-op teacher for many years. I started my career as an elementary teacher. I was selected to the Hall of Fame several years ago as the girls basketball coach, but I also coached boys basketball. I did cross country for several years and am on the committee with the Hall of Fame.
It's definitely my pleasure meeting and speaking with all of you guys. So to start, tell us about the Woodbridge Township Athletic Alumni Association Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame, the Athletic Hall of Fame started, they started talking about it in 1988. Dr. Bonacore was the superintendent of schools at the time. A number of coaches and administrators in the district wanted to start something that would recognize the outstanding accomplishments of athletes from the Woodbridge Township School District, going way back to when Woodbridge first started sports in the 1920s.
Were you involved from the origin of it?
No, I was not. Ms. Schmidtke will talk about that in a moment. I did nominate a number of people for the first Hall of Fame induction dinner, which was in 1989. And those were the beginning years. Mr. Dave Peterson, who was the former principal here at Woodbridge High School back in the 1990s, he was the very first president of the Athletic Hall of Fame. The induction dinners kept rolling along for a 12-year period from 1989 to 2000. And then at that point, it seemed like they had people that were going to continue doing the induction dinners, but unfortunately, I guess the momentum stopped, and there was a 15-year hiatus until the current committee now reorganized 4 years ago. And we had our first dinner in 2015. We've been doing it ever since. We each have samples of our induction booklets. This is the 2016 cover. Ms. Schmidtke has 2017, and Coach Schmiel has 2018. And it's a color booklet. We're very proud of it. We do a lot of research on our nominees. We have a very strict selection criteria. We have a committee of approximately 15 people who do the voting. We each get 1 vote. It's a very democratic process. And we ultimately then select our class, usually by June of each year, and then we prepare for our dinners, which are usually in October of each year. Ms. Schmidtke will talk about the very, very beginning dinners and what they did.
Basically, we met at Woodbridge High School in the library, and we came with names. We were all told to come with nominees. At the time, I don't recall that anyone even said what they did. They just wanted their names, and we added that to the program. I was one of the first women inducted. I'm still trying to figure that out. But Mary Conley also she became principal of Kennedy, and she was also in the Hall of Fame, one of the first women. We've brought in many coaches of girls' teams that help us with our selections, etc. We've expanded the program tremendously. We have, as Nick said, a lot of things that we follow as guidelines, etc. Anyone can nominate someone. It's 20 years once you're out of the high school, And for a coach, it's 5 years once they've given up coaching. And they can go any place in the township. There are flyers all over the place that have the nomination forms in it. And we're always looking for that because we don't want to be the only people that are nominating. We want outsiders to nominate people. And we say this at all the dinners, you know, please, you know, you didn't get, if you came here, some teammates, you have teammates, try to nominate them and get them involved with this. So that's what we've been doing with the program, and it's all thanks to Nick.
So the rec department got involved in 2000 to help grow the Athletic Hall of Fame. What have they done and what role have they played in the Athletic Hall of Fame?
Well, the rec department, I think directly, they got involved back in 2015 when we reorganized the committee. And where they have helped us, first they provide the Woodbridge Community Center. This is where we hold the induction dinner every year. And Mr. Vito Simaluka, who is the recreation director, and his staff just do a fantastic job of supporting everything that we endeavor to do. And you know, we're able to put the dinner on at a fair cost because we are also looking to make a profit from the dinner, and our profits go into a scholarship fund that we began a couple of years ago, and we've given out, what, over $3,000 now? We've given out over $3,000 to graduates of JFK, Colonia, and Woodbridge High School at the June Senior Awards programs, and we will continue to do that this year and hopefully in the future.
That's amazing.
So it's everybody working together. The mayor's office, the recreation staff at the community center, and the sponsorship ads that are able to make this thing go.
So are there any other plans for expansion other than the video, possibly having your own building for the Hall of Fame eventually or anything of that sort?
No, I wouldn't say that we'll be able to reach that kind of a goal. What I can tell you is this: any donations or any memorabilia such as this booklet will go to the Woodbridge Historical Museum, which has its own building now. I think it's 83 Green Street is being remodeled, and that will become the home of the Woodbridge Historical Society. So our booklets are donated to them. We also received a sweater from Mr. Ted Kajowski, whom we inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year. He was a member of one of the most famous sports programs in the history of Woodbridge Township, and they were called the Woodbridge Golden Bears. They were a semi-pro football team that existed here in Woodbridge Township. They were fantastic. They existed in the 1940s and the 1950s. Anyway, he gave me his Golden Bears sweater to donate to the Historical Society, which I have done. And that will be on display when the museum opens, hopefully by, I'm being told, maybe the fall of 2019, the building will be opened, and that sweater will be on display in a display case along with all the other memorabilia that they have from Woodbridge Township.
That is truly amazing. Before the 15-year break and now, what are the differences, if there are any, in what you guys do with the Alumni Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame?
Well, I think the opportunities, the scholarships are important, although I was told that they were giving some scholarships back in the early days. I think we've expanded on that, though. Our selection process for possible inductees is also very formal. And as I said earlier, it's a very strict voting process. Those are two differences, I think, that come to mind. I don't know if anyone else.
I'd like to add on to that. With the selection, the fact is we are limiting it to a certain number. I don't know how it worked in the past, but here, you know, if we say, like the first 2 years, it was going to be 10 from each school, that was used as a criteria to catch up for the 15 years. We also have a better opportunity to research some of the names that might have been missed. I had mentioned one to you before we interviewed, and there are people out there who are outstanding athletes, Paul Malice, Andy McRae, who are great athletes, and they somehow were missed, which can happen in any organization, and our job was to, change that. And we have an opportunity through books we have, through the internet, through websites that we can look up. And I think we've become very strict. Our conversations at the meetings are very thorough, and why a person deserves it. And we compare and contrast a lot of the people that are nominated. We want to get the best. This isn't a Hall of Fame that just selects nice people who are good athletes. We want to get the best of the athletes.
So Coach Schmiel and Ms. Schmicke, you guys are both members of the Hall of Fame yourselves. When were you guys inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Sandy?
First year.
First year.
And I was in 2015.
And what does it mean to you guys? Can you go into a little detail about that?
I still haven't figured it out.
Well, to me, it's a huge honor. When you take up coaching, as I did so long ago, you don't think about it that far down the road. And I did what I did because I loved coaching. And I was fortunate enough to work at 2 of the high schools, and I ran camps in town and did all that kind of stuff. I had my own little program of basketball players called the Raiders, and I never thought about it this far down. But it meant a lot to me to be selected, especially that first year, because when we came back after 15 years, there were some amazing people in that first class, and just to be considered with them was really important. And it meant a lot to my family, and I know in talking to some former players who are also in the Hall of Fame now, and they also said that it means a whole lot to your family. And to be able to look through the book and see what some of these people have accomplished, I guess that's it's an important thing to you going forward with your life. And I know my family thinks I'm all wonderful now, but the thing is, it meant a lot to everyone in my family and myself to be selected with these great athletes and coaches.
So for all 3 of you guys, all in all, what does the Athletic Alumni Hall of Fame mean to you guys?
Well, for me personally, I've just been a great fan of Woodbridge Township sports all through the years. Like I said, as a little kid running around outside here at the stadium in the late 50s, it's just something that I maintained and followed all through the years at Woodbridge High School, and then at JFK, when JFK opened in September of '64, and then finally at Colonia, when Colonia opened in September of '67. And I've been to so many games and met so many people and have seen so many championships at the 3 high schools. So for me, it's just a pleasure. It's just the love that I have. It's a great thing for me to do. I just enjoy it. I enjoy coming back here, or going to JFK or Colonia, and just seeing what the kids are doing today. I've met a lot of them, spoken to a lot of them, and it's just a wonderful experience all through these years. So that's my personal opinion.
Most of the schools around us in the state have only 1 high school. We have 3. Mm-hmm. We've been very fortunate that we've had 3 outstanding high school with athletes, academics, and the whole bit. Can you only imagine what it would have been like if they were all in the same building and you had all of this talent that was out there? Because it would be unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And we have, like I said, everything that Nick said, the pride of all of the things. And when I said before that I really didn't know, I was the cheering coach. I was the winningest coach in the building because football wasn't winning in the beginning. only basketball, especially when we beat Perth Amboy. And the paper, we were all so excited that the paper was going to say that, you know, Colonia won. It said Perth Amboy loses. So we learned really fast, like you didn't pay your dues yet, but you will in time.
And for me, I think looking at the three high schools and the success they've all had, if people would look at this and the meaningfulness of sports and what it can do in the truest sense. I mean, sometimes today, as we all know, there's a lot of negative things going on. This township is fortunate in the leadership that they have, that there is so much positive going on with the new fields, with the new buildings, with the new facilities. As we're sitting here in this locker room, going back to when I was here, it was like 1,000% better. But I think the Hall of Fame just brings people together, and we spoke before, the stories exchanged at the dinner. And then later, you know, what I'm looking forward to is to have that computerized version of all our people, where you can still add to it if you find more things out about athletes. And having people coming in and being able to see our athletes from the 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way through. We've had some great athletes, both just high school or high school and college, and we've had some people who went on to professional careers. So yeah, that means a lot, and I think, you know, to help foster that information is important to us. So that's where we want to be.
So this all ties into my last question. How do you guys feel the Hall of Fame is preserving history in Woodbridge Township?
Well, you know, again, the induction dinner, the booklets, the induction booklets, TV 35, 36, all of that information, and eventually the digital video that we are planning, all of that will come together to preserve these famous names and these championship teams. You know, you can go to the high schools and they have their plaques and they have their trophies, and all of that also helps to preserve the history. What went on before us? What are our schools all about historically from an athletic standpoint? Well, yes, the schools have all their memorabilia, and we have our memorabilia. So I think when you bring everything together, that's how you preserve the history.
All right, I'd like to thank my guests for joining us today, and back to you in the studio, Mr. Soretto.
Great interview, Nigel. And thanks to our guests for speaking with us and for all the hard work they do to preserve the history of Woodbridge athletics. What a great service to our local athletes and their families. Now, we have to take a quick break, but come right back as I head over to Woodbridge High School myself to meet Miss Beth Amory for our music segment. Welcome back to The Bridge. I'm Darren Soretto, and I'm here with Beth Amory at Woodbridge High School. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Beth.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's so good to see you.
You too.
First of all, congratulations on your upcoming retirement.
Thank
it's
you.
So exciting.
Thank you.
Your final year. But just to look back for a minute, when you first started, I was here and I was a junior when you first started. So,
okay.
Of course, I'm only 25 years old, so that wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
I do regret not being in choir because I've heard so many amazing things about your choir and everything you've done here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Let's begin. Can you tell us what programs you've run through your time here at Woodbridge High School?
Sure. First of all, I was very lucky to come into a very strong program. So there were two women before me, Christine Urban and Betty Musakia, who cultivated a strong program, and so I got to step in. I got to work with Chris as a student teacher. There's always been a concert choir, which is a mixed ensemble, men and women.
Okay.
There's always been a women's choir.
Okay.
The mixed chorus, which is a non-audition group for students who want to sing but they don't want to compete. Okay. And the show choir, when I first started, there was a men's group and a women's group. So the first thing I did when I got to take over the program was combine those into our show choir. Those have always existed.
Okay.
And then through the years, we add things as talent comes in and as needs. So there's a jazz choir.
Okay.
Sometimes there's been a men's ensemble to balance out the women. So it changes.
You're very humble, but I've heard you've added so many wonderful things.
I have, but you know, I always put this out there that I look good because kids make me look good, and so we're in this together. Right. Even to be sitting here alone is so strange because this is an us proposition.
That's a great way to put it.
Which is part of what makes it so much fun.
Awesome, that's great. Is there any one event through years that stands out, or?
We've gotten to do an awful lot of special things. When I first started, I kind of had in my head that I would accept, especially in the township, any gig or performance or opportunity that we could cover so that the community knew who Woodbridge Choir was. As a result, we get to do some really fun things like the mayor's swearing in, where I hire a rock band and we rewrite Springsteen and Bon Jovi songs. Last year my kids got to meet Joe Biden.
Oh, wow.
We actually got some FaceTime with him.
Really?
Because we sang God Bless America at an event. So,
that's beautiful.
Craig Coughlin invited us to sing at the reorganization of the State Assembly.
Wow.
So we get to see a lot of Governor McGreevey. We got to sing at the Trenton War Memorial. So over the years, there's been a lot of really cool things that we've gotten to do in and out of town.
A lot of shining moments in your career. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, I've heard your musical talents reach across many genres. An inside source has even said that you've worked with creating an ensemble with bagpipes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which doesn't happen, right?
No, it doesn't happen. In fact, I taught the DeLeo kids. My bagpiper is Paul DeLeo. And we talked about collaborating. And so I went to my choral sources and to look for pieces with bagpipes. And the funny thing was the only mention on the site was, if you're thinking about doing a piece with bagpipes, don't. Because bagpipes are so loud.
Yeah, sure.
But we did manage to find a piece that was written for women's choir and bagpipes. There's an arrangement at SATB that we now do at the town 9/11 Memorial with Paul. And because we do it outside and there's some distance, we managed to make that work.
Make it happen.
I'm still looking for... AC/DC has some songs that they do with bagpipes. I'm thinking that might be a cool, fun thing to do before I go.
Yes, definitely. Go out with a bang, right? That'd be great.
That's an unusual collaboration.
Thunderstruck. I love it. Oh, that's great. So that attests to your wide range of talent and your willingness to be adventurous with music. And Mr. Lotman, you know, I spoke with him before, and he just said, you know, she doesn't just work here. She works outside in the community, and as you said, you do just an amazing job bringing it all together. So
the thing I'll add about that is that the reason Mr. Lotman knows what we do is because he doesn't miss a performance.
I know, he does,
and he's been a great principal to work with, and I'm so glad that I end my career working for him because he never misses a performance. He's there for everything.
Wow. And he's giving you the freedom to do whatever you want, right?
Yes, and trust the kids, which is
that's
nice.
Great. That's wonderful. Now, one set of expectations that I believe you stress a lot is personal responsibility, strong work ethic, team building, discipline, and good character. Is that true?
Absolutely true. I worked with Ken Pace for a period of time, another awesome administrator. And he and I had many conversations where we talked about, he was a coach, he was a head coach, and we talked about how music and sports are very similar in our expectations. The vehicle's different. In this room, all subjects come together, you know, music, literature, physics, anatomy, history, and because our students are called on so many times, there is a lot of responsibility to be places and to show up on time and to work really hard, because sometimes we don't have much time to get something together. So like sports, it's a perfect vehicle to help students navigate life.
Yes, and you have great students in Woodbridge Township, so
the best.
Yeah, the best. We're very fortunate to have that. So now, what do you look forward to most in your retirement? I know this is a tough question for you, but what do you think?
It is, because I'm always running. I always say choir is a 3-season sport. Our first performance is September 11th, oftentimes after we've only met twice.
Wow.
Our last performance is graduation.
Okay.
Somebody said to me after St. Andrews in December, oh, now you can relax for a while. Except that we had the Martin Luther King Memorial,
yes,
and then did the Mayor's State of the Township. So I think exploring doing less. I made a promise that I would say no for 6 months.
Okay.
Just to see where life takes me.
Okay.
So,
yeah, but there'll be music involved, I'm sure.
Performances in the audience.
Oh, that's a nice idea. The other side.
Right.
Just kind of listen in.
Right.
I don't know if you can do that, but we'll see.
I can do that.
Now today, you're going to have a group singing for us. What will they be performing, and who is it? Who is singing?
Concert choir will. They're going to cover our alma mater. It's a piece they hear on the PA every Friday.
Okay.
We sing it at graduation, so I think that's what we'll do for you, the alma mater.
Oh, I can't wait. I haven't heard it in many, many years.
Oh, well, you can sing with us.
I don't know if I remember it, but but I'll definitely listen in. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
And it's been my pleasure to talk with you, and I can't wait to hear them sing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. That was awesome, amazingly beautiful. Great job, guys. Hey, let's give some love to Miss Amory for all she's done. Miss Amory, you've certainly made your mark in Woodbridge history. Now that we're celebrating 350 years, you've made your mark, and that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your gift of music with so many choirs through your career, and you've been a blessing as a teacher and a leader for so many children. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Let's give her another hand, guys. That ends our show highlighting our school district's role in the historic 350 years of Woodbridge Township. We look forward to the endless possibilities in our schools over the next 350 years. I'm Darren Soretto, thanking you for joining us on this very special edition of The Bridge. We'll see you next time.